All right, we're back on our bull session with John and Chad. It's Brice Cherry. Guys, good to see y'all.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks
for having us.
Having us. We'll get together again and do one of these in person, but it does kind of make it.
Wait, now we just need to say we're not doing it in person for any health reasons.
No, we're not. It's just
except for just being in the comfort of our own home and home offices.
Yes, this is true. But yeah, we could meet at Crickets or something next time. So
now that's an idea. Can I drink?
That's called Podcast After Dark. John Boy, MCC got it done. You said you felt like they had a pretty good shot at winning it all, and it turned out to be the case. They ended the season on how many game winning streak?
23
in a row. I mean, that's really impressive in baseball, because baseball's kind of a crazy game with funny hops, and for them to win 23 in a row and beat all the caliber of team that they did, like I said, very, very impressive. What do you feel like kind of got it done for them?
Well, they've said all year that they've got the kind of pitching staff that could win a World Series. Very deep. They had 4 good starters. They had a whole bunch of good relievers. Landry Weidman throws mid-90s. He's their closer. Couldn't have a better ace than Logan Henderson, as I think he proved without question, striking out 17 in the final game. And but yeah, and a lineup where there were really no holes. Even their 7th, 8th, 9 guys, they may not have great batting averages, but they were hot. They were hot throughout the regional. They had a really, I like the way they did the format this year: regional, super regional, like NCAA baseball. That made a lot more sense. And they just ran through people during both of those tournaments, and then got off to a great start, beat Florence Darlington Tech 7-0 in the World Series. Henderson had 14 strikeouts in that game. Won their next couple pretty much by slugfest, double-digit games. 4th game was kind of pivotal. They were wondering, the coach, Mitch-Thompson, and his coaching staff was wondering whether to bring back Logan for that 4th game. They all agreed that Will Karsten should be the guy. And he gave him a really solid performance, and that just set them up perfect. They were the only unbeaten team going into Friday, and they had their ace on the mound and a fresh bullpen. And they proved it, They were, just the clear-cut best team out there. And I think everybody's happy for Mitch too.
Now, I just have to interject here.
Yeah,
everybody is happy for Mitch. I am pumped. I saw him this morning. He's friends. I'm friends with him. See him every Tuesday at the coffee shop. But here's the thing, and I pointed this out Friday night as we were watching the game. I wrote the season preview of MCC. I wrote briefs on them every freaking game all season. And then it turned it over to John in May, and suddenly it becomes the glamour beat.
The reason you gave it to me.
Yeah, so I would be the one driving all over the state, and we just keep you close to home where you're safe.
You didn't want me to drive more than 4 miles from my house because I might have an accident because my eyesight's not so good anymore.
Johnny, I
appreciate that.
If we'd have ended up sending you to Grand Junction to Colorado, and you'd have been up there in the mountains hiking and doing your thing, I think Chad would never forgive you. Like he's never forgiven me for doing the George W. Bush interview.
Totally different situations. I don't think John would have had a whole lot of time for hiking on that trip, by the way. It sounds like they were going to put him on a plane. Huh?
I had some hikes picked out if we had gone.
Well, okay. another point on the MCC thing. I remember Mitch talking about when they're in the middle of their season before they won 23 in a row, how hard it was to get pitchers to believe in themselves, to go out and, and do what they can do and throw strikes. And because you can't just practice having confidence on the mound in game situations. You got to be able, and I think they really peaked at the right time from that standpoint. I mean, I think they have, great players, really good recruits, but long about middle of March, they were just bumping along a little bit over 500.
Yeah, they really did turn it on at the right time. I think it was last year I wrote a column about it's time to wake up to the fact that MCC's kind of got a national powerhouse in baseball. They just didn't have the national championship yet. In terms of, they had it, but it was in '83. Well, now, Mitch's team has that ring, and I think he's already looking ahead to, to next year and bringing some of the guys back and making another run at it. John, where is Logan Henderson committed again or signed?
He's going to A&M, but it's going to be interesting to see where he's drafted.
Yeah, I agree. I think A&M may never see him.
Yeah, he throws a really good fastball. He's got a good changeup. He throws probably low 90s, but man, he can really spot his pitches. And Mitch said after the game, after the championship, that his pitches gave an illusion that they were rising. I guess kind of like a softball, the rise ball in softball, and the hitters just had no clue how to hit it.
Yeah.
So, obviously, he's got some movement on that fastball too.
Yeah, that's nasty. So obviously, congrats to the Highlanders' second national championship in Waco this year in 2021.
Home of champions, yeah.
Yeah.
Who else won?
The guy with the Texas.
Hey, don't forget, your beat, Brice.
Well, yeah, no, that's a good point. Sorry about that. I did forget about Baylor Acro and Tumbling also won a national championship. So there you go, 3 of them. And while we're just on the subject, John, let's circle back to your story that you did this past weekend on Baylor basketball and kind of what the national championship means to a program. Obviously, the Lady Bears won 3 of them. So it was good for them in terms of, I think it really did, help in recruiting and all of that. What can it do for Scott Drew's program?
Yeah, obviously they're going to be in on higher rated recruits. I mean, they're bringing in a really good class. This is probably his highest rated class in, I'd say maybe 10 years, with Kendall Brown, Langston Love, Jeremy Sokin. But, those guys were already signed before they won the national title. Well, I think they're going to get even more and more interest, but Scott made a really good point. They can't forget the things that got them there. And that's like just teamwork, unselfishness, having veterans there, continuity, and really just doing the right things on and off the field. And so, yeah, it'll be a little different now. The guys who won that title, they were not even like a top 20 kind of class. They were just a bunch of hard workers. They were talented, but they stayed around a long time and just really played great together. And
I think it's going to be the lesson of Baylor. In the 2021 season, going to be the lesson of Baylor in that they did win a national championship and were actually dominant with that type of team. Whereas, and I know it was a pandemic affected season, but Kentucky didn't even make the tournament. Duke didn't even make the tournament. Those 5-star programs, those high-profile recruits who have one foot out the door the minute they get there, that ain't the way to go.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chad. If you can keep veterans around a while, guys who like to play with each other, like are committed to playing great defense, those are the teams that are going to win.
Yeah, those one and done teams, they always have talent, and and they can win a certain number of games on talent, but do they usually finish it off with the national championship? Not often, because like you said, they're all freshmen and sophomores. They haven't played together that long. Sometimes it feels a little bit more like a mishmash, collection of really talented players than it does a team.
Well, and the
Yeah,
way that
I think
the way the
Kentucky's the
pre-NBA
greatest
draft
example.
hype machine. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think Kentucky's the greatest example of that. They have probably the most blue chips of anybody, but they're mostly one and done guys. They just kind of throw them in there for a year, and Calipari's won one national title there, 2012.
And what I was going to say is that the way the pre-NBA draft hype machine works and the way that the college guys get their name kind of in that mix, it seems like you got to have a ball in your hands. And the problem is there's only one ball, So if you bring in 6 guys that want to go to the NBA, there's still only one ball,
Yeah. To me, a good NBA correlation for the one and done type teams are the Brooklyn Nets, it's the super teams, that you put together these, collection of really talented guys. And for me, watching the Nets all year, I felt like most of the time they were, when they were on the court together, because they were often not, one of those guys was usually hurt, but they didn't look to me like they were winning on team ball as much as they were winning on the fact that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and James Harden are 3 of the best offensive players, in basketball, and they can get you a shot whenever you want. Now, I will say, just to couch all that, watching them against Milwaukee these last couple games, they look like they figured it out how to play together as a team. So, some teams do get it and it clicks. And that team that you mentioned, John, that Calipari coached that won a national championship, that was one of them that did it. But I'm with you. I think it makes a lot of sense to keep older guys around. How about the impact, real quickly, before we, go on to something else, on the arena, the new arena? Is it going to have an effect?
Oh yeah, I think so. Recruits like new shiny things. Yeah, and it's going to be a really good looking field house kind of setting there. About 7,000, I think, is going to be the capacity. So I think it'll be a better home court atmosphere. I think the fans will feel like they're right on top of the players. And, but yeah, I think that's something they can kind of sell now too. And yeah, I mean, everything's looking up, and I think Nikki's coming in at a good time too.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, so Chad will be going down to Austin, Round Rock, later today.
Round Rock, and it's an important distinction, because that means I won't have to see that dang cow everywhere I look.
This is true. The Longhorn is not emblazoned on dell-diamond. Chad, I saw that you were one that did like my tweet from the other day. I was at a golf club down in San Antonio, and they had these Longhorn cattle there at this golf club, which, figure that out, first of all. But and they had this sign that said, Johnny, I don't know if you saw my tweet, but
it was funny.
Yeah, it says, don't feed the Longhorns, they have special dietary needs. And I said, what do they eat? Unmet expectations? So, we get our tweaks in when we can.
Right.
They just go figure out what oats are the best oats and just buy them out from under whoever was eating those oats.
Ooh, there we go. Nice. For as much money as they have, their facilities, meh. You
know what? And I kept asking people, I realized the UIL offices are right by the McCombs field for the softball state tournament, but I don't really see the appeal of playing at McCombs Field.
I know there was talk years ago that Getterman might like to be the place for UIL softball. It never really materialized. I think they like to keep things in the Austin area as much as possible, just because.
Well, the track meet, and the track meet happened right at the kind of crux of time when the city of Austin was arguing with the governor about COVID restrictions and all of those things. But the UT that piped in crowd noise and didn't have any fans at basketball games, suddenly they were covetous of having that state track meet there because it had never been anywhere else. Now, I kind of get that, you don't want to see it go somewhere else and lose this great event that you have. But I don't know, you know what, they put all these restrictions up and then they didn't really enforce them. So that was fine with me.
Yeah.
By the way, that piped in crowd noise was hurting my ears when Baylor played there.
It's still ringing. I think you should sue the University of Texas.
No love lost. Let's move on. Talk about the Hubbard Jaggers.
The Hubbard Jaggers.
Yeah. And, going to the state tournament for the first time.
Yeah, and it's their first state tournament trip for any boys team sport. I think maybe they had a powerlifting team, had some representatives of the state meet. And so I just posted my story online a little bit ago, but I said it could be, and I don't want to overlook anybody or, I'll probably get emails about this, but I said, could be the biggest thing that happened in Hubbard sports since Tris Speaker was born in 1888.
That's good stuff. Obviously, Hubbard, well known as the home of Tris Speaker, Baseball Hall of Famer.
Hey, if they had UIL back then, I think Tris would have gotten them there.
Yeah, I think so too. In fact, I was looking for his baseball accomplishments in his early life and whatever, and apparently he fell off a horse and broke his arm, and that's why he ended up being a lefty.
Wow. That's
cool. Just one little story I found in 5 minutes of research. But anyway, went out on Monday morning to Hubbard's practice, and baseball practice is a little bit different animal than any other sport because they're not working on plays, they're hitting and everything. And Hubbard had an interesting rotation because they had two guys would rotate batting, and they do hit and run, and they do bunt, and they'd swing away and hit a few. And so I got to see some guys bat, and then I started to do interviews, and I'm interviewing their kid, Sebastian Olvera, who's their third baseman. Johnny, I don't know how many 6'5", 300-pound third baseman you've ever seen, but that's Sebastian Olvera of the Hubbard Jaggers.
He's probably the first.
So anyway, I'm talking to Sebastian, and it's kind of a Mutt and Jeff situation, as you can imagine, And we're sitting on the bleachers, and it starts to rain. And I said, well, let's go underneath that awning over there, that building. So we go over to that building, and I'm standing there trying to continue the interview, and I see a flash in the sky. And I think to myself, this is a metal building. And I asked him, I said, this is a metal building, isn't it? And he said, yeah. And then he just kept on answering. And I was just thinking, we should probably move because it was, like the last couple of mornings have been, the storm came in a hurry and it was on top of us. And I interrupted in mid-answer again. And I was like, hey, man, take cover. I'll figure out how to talk to you guys later. But, we got to get out of this. Before I got to my car, I was soaked like I'd been in the shower. So anyway, that was.
There you go.
But as you said, a cool story, and they're coached by Jordan Grimm, who is a former West baseball player, played for Corey Beckham there at West. And so, a guy like that is going to be well schooled in baseball fundamentals and kind of how to win and stuff, and has done a good job there at Hubbard.
Yeah, and he pointed out there were 2A last time that the baseball playoffs were held and went into the area round. So moving to 1A, in baseball, they still play 11-man football, so they're in 2A in football. But 1A in baseball now, it kind of gives them a leg up on school size. And, I tell you, Dodge City was ranked number 1 that they beat to get to this point. And so now it's, Nazareth is ranked number 3 and Hubbard's ranked number 6 in terms of the state rankings and the High School Baseball Coaches Association poll. So I tell you, Hubbard's got a shot. They got a couple of great pitchers. In fact, Grimm said he has confidence in 4 pitchers. And then the other team playing, I John gets the glory beat, the MCC thing, and he can sit on the couch and cover the games. I got to go to dell-diamond to cover a game at 9 a.m. tomorrow and 7 p.m. tomorrow night. So,
Hey, Chad, I went up to Weatherford to cover them in the playoffs.
that's true. That's true. You did.
And in John's defense, those MCC games were sometimes finishing at 1 a.m. and stuff. So
yeah.
wasn't that glamorous?
Good point.
Yeah,
There's no sleep pattern for sports writers, I think, is the lesson to be learned.
Yeah, that's true. The other team that you referenced there would, of course, be the Bosqueville Bulldogs. I'll have a feature story on Bosqueville, in tomorrow's paper and online later. So all three of us actually at one time or another this season saw Bosqueville baseball play. Chad briefly, he was on his way to another assignment and shot some pictures of Bosqueville, and we'll see them, of course, tomorrow. But I covered them in the regional final, and then John, you saw them against who?
Give me a second.
Windthorst,
yeah.
Yeah, I saw him against Lindsay, and it was a one-gamer. And they went out there, and John Ewens, their sophomore left-hander, he's a Baylor commit, goes out, throws a no-hitter in the regional final. It was pretty impressive. He wasn't just overpowering guys. It wasn't a super high strikeout game. I mean, he had 10, but it was kind of a case of just keeping guys off balance, and Bosqueville's defense is really, really good. And that's a strength of theirs. They want their pitchers to throw strikes and essentially let the defense work behind them. That's kind of their MO. And then offensively, I mean, they've got a lot of hitters 1 through 9. I feel like they make the other team throw strikes. Like if you can't find the plate, they're gonna be just fine with a walk. And they had a game early in the playoffs. Was it maybe Wortham or somebody like that, where they batted around twice and didn't hardly have any hits at all, in an inning. I mean, it was a case of just walk, hit by pitch, that kind of thing. So they really kind of grind teams down, I think. And I like Bosqueville's chances this week. They've got, this is their 4th state tournament trip. They've got one championship. I think they've got a good chance to add to that.
Yeah, if you go by the state polls, and I think that's kind of how they do the seeding at the state tournament as well. But it sets up, for a real interesting final, because Shiner is number 1 and they play the 4 o'clock game tomorrow. Bosqueville's number 2 and they play the 7 o'clock game.
Yeah, that would be a great matchup for the championship game for sure.
Yeah, and that's a team that could get through 2 games in a state tournament setting pretty easily, because they've got 4 or 5 good pitchers.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder if they'll throw Davila tomorrow.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. They really like Davila. He's. I mean, they, like John said, they're deep at the pitching staff, but I could see potentially going Davila in your first game, and then Ewan saving him for that second game, that championship game against Shiner.
It's a good time of year to kind of baseball nerd out, because usually postseason baseball around here is buried by high school, college, and pro football. But now we got high school postseason baseball. We got college, all the college baseball postseason you want to watch, provided you have ESPNU and ESPN3 and ESPN2 and everything else. But I kind of think if Bosqueville could somehow talk all those Arkansas baseball fans into coming down to dell-diamond and pulling for them, they'd have a big time advantage.
So we'll close with a little, what are you thinking about? Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah.
About Bosqueville first. You mentioned their defense. The game I saw against Windthorst, Ewens was playing right field. He had 2 assists at first base, throwing 2 first base.
Wow.
I mean, that's how heads up those guys are on defense.
Yeah, they are. And I will say, in that no-hitter, their third baseman, who I'd have to look up right now, but he made a snag that saved the no-hitter. I mean, it was a line drive right at him, but they were just calm and cool. So before we get out, we'll do kind of a little round table of what's on your mind. So it sounds like Arkansas baseball fans are on Chad's mind.
Well, I was all set to troll Arkansas baseball fans big time last night because they were down 2-0 against Nebraska in the game 7 of their regional. And man, and credit to Arkansas for having a great stadium environment. They have a big stadium and they fill it up, but they've taken over Omaha, and not necessarily in a completely benign way. I mean, if you're at the College World Series in Omaha, you need to, be looking over your shoulder for Arkansas fans because they are mean. They are looking for a fight. They're drunk and they're mean.
You sound like you've experienced this.
On multiple occasions. I mean, I've written about fans. I know Tech fans can be belligerent at times and nasty at times, but I've never been to an event where you wanted to make sure you knew where one set of fans were and stay away from them.
All right. And John, anything on your mind, Johnny?
Well, I've been, obviously I cover Baylor softball, so I've been watching Oklahoma softball in the World Series, and they lost their first game to James Madison. They were kind of, the Cinderella team. They beat Oklahoma and Oklahoma State the first 2 games. Then, of course, Oklahoma comes back. They beat James Madison twice yesterday. So I think they've got a really good shot to win it. They're going to be playing Florida State beginning tonight. And they're fun to watch. I mean, they have such great power hitters throughout the lineup. And I'm sure me and Steve Boggs will be watching very intently.
They're historically awesome in terms of their hitting. I mean, obviously they mash the ball. So obviously you guys know I'm a big NBA guy. I always follow the NBA playoffs very, very closely. This year has been different in that my team, the Rockets, are not in the playoffs. And so I'm kind of just watching without any pressure. It's sort of nice, not to be just screaming at the TV and all that. It's already been a victory, these playoffs, because the Lakers are now out. If the Nets go down, it will be just absolutely glorious.
Because you have sports hate directed at James Harden, right?
Well, yes. And I like a lot of NBA fans, a lot of people in America, I do not want to see the Nets win just because of, the super team aspect of it. But I'll just say this, nuts. Nuggets, Suns and Nuggets. I conflated those into the nuts. We are off the rails now. The Suns and the Nuggets, that is the series to watch. Johnny, if you can stay up that late, it's incredible. Devin Booker, Chris Paul, they're tearing it up. And Jokic, he's going to be the MVP this year. Probably my favorite player to actually watch right now in basketball. But
hey, Brice, compared to JUCO baseball, that's like early in the morning.
Good stuff.
I saw a comment on Twitter last week that somebody was mouthing off and said, you see, you rush these guys back and this is what you get. And I'm like, from what I can tell, an awesome playoff season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as wide open as it's been really in decades.
I think that person might have been a Laker fan, though.
Probably, yeah. The best thing I saw, though, was this meme that had the back of LeBron James's head with this bald spot, and the bald spot was the crying Jordan meme.
Is that the all-time meme for Jordan?
Oh yeah, that goes down in the meme Hall of Fame. All right, well, we're pretty much running out of time, so we'll wrap it up there. We'll try to do another one of these bull sessions soon. But
before you guys both abandoned me and go on vacation.
yeah, exactly. You know, it may be August again when we actually have one of these. You got some vacation too, so.
No. I know.
All right, good stuff. Thanks, guys.
Cool.